Moving on to my favorite feature of 10.0, and this is really the hallmark of what we've done here, is direct support. So before we get into what this is, I want to talk about why we did it. As Ali mentioned, the key thing in this release is to bring you help desk services, to bring you the ability to provide help desk services to the end device. And in order to understand how to do that properly, we looked at your technician's workflow. So we researched, how does a technician resolve an issue? They get a ticket, they research, they triage the issue, they resolve the issue, and then they report that to their PSA solution or other ticketing solution. So we looked at that and figured out where we could insert ourselves into that workflow in order to provide the best possible integration from the Incentral side, so you never have to leave your RMM tool in order to fix a problem and report that resolution. So with direct support, we give you the ability to resolve those problems. You can restart services, stop processes, edit registry entries, copy files, run command prompt executables. So there's a lot you can do. The power is virtually endless. If you have technicians that are well versed in command line or PowerShell, that's all built into this tool, as well as our industry-leading drag and drop automation manager allows you to execute policies right on the device within your troubleshooting workflow. The Tools tab is where direct support lives. Direct support is the set of tools that we've created to allow you to resolve help desk tickets. So under the Tools tab, we can see a number of things, including services, printers, registry, startup items, etc. For this example, I'm going to first look in the Services tab. Remember, we're troubleshooting printers. Here in the Services, I can see all the services on the system, their status. I can right-click and take action on these services, such as start, set the startup type, set the logon type, monitor within Central, and also view dependent services if they exist. As you can see, the print spooler service here is in a stop state. So to resolve this, I'm going to simply right-click and start that service. You can see instantly the fact that the action was in progress and then completed was automatically and synchronously presented to you as a user. There's no guessing whether or not the action that I submitted worked. The start was successful. It flashed green indicating that it was complete. If it was in progress, it showed in progress. If it failed, it would tell you it failed and tell you why it failed. So we're really giving you real-time control and synchronous control and feedback on the actions that you're taking within the direct support toolset. And that's something we're very excited about. Okay, so moving on, if this did not resolve the issue, the next thing that I'm going to do is go to the Printers tab, select the user who initiated the call, and then see what's going on with their printer setup. And in this example, the first thing that I see is that send to OneNote is set as the default printer. So the next action I'm going to take is select the appropriate printer and set as default. And then finally, I'll right-click this printer and print a test page. And then I would call the user and ask them, did the test page print? Or send them a note in the ticket, and if it did, their issue is resolved and I can close the ticket. So direct support does more than just printer troubleshooting. This was an end-to-end example to give you an idea of how this fits into your workflow. But now I want to go through each of these tools exhaustively to really highlight some of the most powerful aspects of this tool set. We talked about services already, but next is processes. Similar to services, this gives you a list of every process that's running on the device. But in addition, you can look at the memory usage, the physical, virtual, the CPU usage, the disk I/O, the priority, the startup type, lots of different information that will help you troubleshoot performance problems or other issues on the device. As well, you can actually look at registry keys being accessed, threads that exist, DLLs being used by the process. This will help greatly when troubleshooting things like malware or other application conflict issues. Moving on to some of the more powerful tools is Registry Editor. So this is basically a mirror of the regedit within the end device. And it's made to be just as usable and very familiar to those technicians who are used to using regedit. I can simply on the left-hand pane browse for appropriate keys. Okay, I can edit keys, I can add new values, I can do anything that I could do within regedit. And this power allows you to, as I mentioned earlier, resolve problems without interrupting the user and without informing them of this dangerous thing called regedit. Moving on to applications and startup applications. This gives you a complete list of the applications on the device. And for those that support silent uninstall, you can actually initiate an uninstall task right from this console. As well, if you have third-party patch enabled and there is a third-party patch available, you can simply install a patch now as well with a click of a button. Startup applications have a similar use, but they also allow you to troubleshoot specific problems related to slow system startup. Not only do I see a list of every startup application there is, have the ability to turn them on or off, but I also get to see the disk I/O at startup, the CPU at startup. So if I'm having a disk thrashing issue during system startup, then in this case, it might be related to Greenshot that uses 5.06 megabytes at startup and 316 milliseconds of CPU time at startup. It's very, very high. And if I was troubleshooting a issue with system startup, that would be my first culprit. And I could see that extremely easily without interrupting the user, without having to remote control on the device. Next, I want to show you the file system. So this is a fully featured file system client that allows you to copy files, paste files, send files, retrieve files, rename files. Most of what I could do with any remote file system client, I can do within this integrated console. Next, I want to show you the automation policy. So for those familiar with N-central's Automation Manager, we have a fantastic drag and drop scripting engine that, as Ali mentioned earlier, does not require you to have any scripting expertise. You can simply drag and drop the order of operations to resolve a problem and load those Automation Manager policies into N-central for execution on a scheduled basis. With direct support, we also give you the ability to execute these now in this Automation Policies tab. I can very quickly select an item such as clear the DNS cache and run this item. It's instantly ran, instantly changes to a status of processing, and when complete, the result will be visible within this pane as well as recorded within the audit log, like all the other direct support actions. So my personal favorite tool, and I would say the crown jewel for the power user, is the command prompt. So this is a fully integrated, real-time, two-way command prompt. So as you can see here, I simply started a session. I can execute commands. I can use tab complete. I can use the up arrows to look at previous operations. So this functions exactly like a command prompt would on the actual device. And for those power users out there, I can even execute PowerShell. And within that PowerShell interface, I can load snap-ins, instantiate objects, act on those objects, etc. So it's a really fully featured command prompt interface.